Hey, welcome back, and thank you once again for tuning in. I'm back basically because a few hours ago, my husband brought to my attention an article that kind of unnerved me, but didn't necessarily shock or surprise me, but does concern me, especially if it holds water or bears any truth. And I felt that it was my obligation and duty to at least alert others and share my concern with them. So at least we are well informed of a future that awaits us. It's also ironic and sort of uncanny and scary that I personally almost saw the proverbial freight train coming so many years ago. But I guess, as all of us do, I doubted my instincts and didn't even want to believe my own rhetoric or predictions or conspiracy theories, if you will. And so I dismissed them. But your gut kind of always knows, I guess, or has a good idea. And so now I'm seeing my predictions only my family knew about, but I'm seeing my predictions kind of unfurl and unfold. And I began to notice this when I first married my husband and moved from New York up to the Great White North, an absolutely beautiful country rather, with so much natural beauty that is being destroyed by bad policy and bad politics. But I'm digressing. And so one of the first things that struck me about Canada, besides its unending natural beauty and its lovely people, was how compliant the people were. Hey, I'm from New York. We argue about everything. So one of the things that struck me is how compliant the people actually were. And one of the first things I noticed is that the people were being financially abused by the powers that be, in order for the powers that be to facilitate substandard free programs such as social medicine. And they were doing this via things like a 5-cent charge on paper bags in grocery stores and other retail outlets, a charge that eventually went from 5 cents to 10 cents to 25 cents. And you get the idea. But no sooner had I condemned and criticized my husband, his nation, and his people than I was forced to swallow my own words when I saw the same practices and protocols coming to America. Like I said, and if I didn't say it, I'll say it now. We often went back and forth between the two countries, so we were able to make that comparison. And so after criticizing Canada and Canadians, I was made privy to the news that New York was going to start implementing these very same practices that I thought were absurd. For goodness sake, add the 5 cents to the cost of the eggs or milk or bread and give me the bag for free. Do not insult my intelligence by asking me if I want a bag and forcing me to buy one only to forget it rather in the car on my next trip, and then only to force me to buy another one. So now that I have enough bags to open my own retail outlet. And that's just one of the things that troubled me at the time. And then I started noticing a shift in the American people who really don't understand world politics, or that's how it would seem, at least to me. Social programs have been in place in Europe for quite a long while now, and they've been in place in Canada since 1968, when the people were literally forced to drink the Kool-Aid. They were sold on it on a temporary basis that has become a permanent fixture. But these social programs are failing the people in Europe, which have a fraction of the population of Canada. And they are also failing Canadians who obviously it is to be expected that they are failing Canadians because Canadians have a greater population than most European nations. And so these programs and policies are failing Canadians. So how much more would they fail us, or we in America, or the American populace? But it seems that the United States does not want to understand this or accept it. And more people are buying into the delusion of the illusion of free medical, free school. They don't realize that anything given to you by the government is never free. It's actually coming out of your pocket and my pocket. And that also anything given to you by the government is not going to be anything but substandard. And that they will dictate and mandate who treats you, how you get treated, when you get treated, etc., etc., etc. But once again, as of today, I am forced to implore my fellow Americans, no matter where on the globe they find themselves, to welcome to Canada. Because earlier today, my husband stumbled across an article that suggested that Fox News in my childhood, in the town that was where my childhood home was, my neighbors, friends and neighbors who still reside there, could not tune in to Fox News. Now, that could be a glitch in the system. It happens all the time, I guess. I've worked in the media, so I know. But it seemed kind of ironic that this coincides with campaigning and trials and all the other nonsense that we have to endure. And somehow, Fox News was unavailable to the population, at least in my former hometown, earlier today. I don't know if that's been resolved as of yet. But that triggered a thought and a concern because I know how things went down in Canada. Canada had a very similar news station known as Rebel Media that I think is still in existence today, but not on the same level as Fox News. And why? Well, because the dictators in charge did not like what they were hearing. They did not like the criticism. They did not like the honesty. And so they had to silence the lambs. And they made them lambs to the slaughter. And they did that by taking down Rebel News. They forced them to go underground. And I think although they're in existence, they get very little airtime. They have to be independent. They do get some airtime on Fox News, but often their reporters are harassed, harangued, put in jail, beaten. And the public, for the most part, is deprived of the truth and what's going on behind the curtain, like in The Wizard of Oz. And with the article suggesting that Fox News was unavailable today, I question whether that was done purposely and intentionally or accidentally. If accidentally, then I can sort of excuse it due to weather conditions, etc. Not climate change, but weather conditions. And so I will accept that. But if it was done intentionally, then that scares me. It scares me because I've seen its repercussions in Canada. And I understand what those repercussions mean for the people. It means that more and more of their rights are taken away. And more of control of their own life is taken away. And if the United States is going down that road, then even for people in Canada, there will be nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. We were perhaps their last saving grace. And yet we are embracing policies that have not proved helpful to them. As my husband would say, never start something other people are trying to quit or get rid of. And that's exactly what we're doing. We are trying to adopt policy and protocol that other people are trying to eradicate. And that in and of itself is scary. But what is even scarier, and think about this, is that we are not necessarily only attempting to impose upon the people socialist programs. If in fact this claim is true, and if it was truly intentional, then we are bypassing socialism and on a freight train to communism. And I don't care where you live in the United States or in North America, if we are not careful, it is coming to a theater near you soon.